Shane McClanahan's season is over before it even began.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who've been podcasting about these Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
On today's show, we look at the future expectations for Shane McClanahan following his season-ending injury. In a few minutes, we'll break down the nerve procedure he had and why it's not the full fix, but we'll begin with the news that the Rays ace is done for the year.
But first, got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. This is an episode that is not going to be fun to do. I don't think it's going to be that fun to watch because we're talking about the fact that the ace of the franchise is not going to be pitching in 2025, and that really puts the big exclamation point on a season that could have been, but truly never was, Kev.
Yeah. Monday's episode wasn't necessarily a fun one or joyous one following the sweep against the Seattle Mariners. We possibly could have had some good things to talk about with the Rays beating the Athletics, but in the 2025 season, it's a give and take. It's a step forward and two steps back. And this was definitely a couple steps back with the news that Shane McClanahan is officially done for the year. And while nobody had really said it until yesterday, that seemed to be the writing on the wall. Because if you look at the progress reports, they really weren't that glowing. Like the most glowing report that we saw from Shane McClanahan over the past couple months was he had a good inning in a rehab start. Like that was about it. And then he gets shut down and, there's a setback here and a setback there. And the cards were not looking good for Shane McClanahan returning in 2025. And if he did return in 2025, it would be at a very minuscule level, i.e. one inning here and there. But alas, that will not be the case, as we will not see him on the mound in a Rays uniform in 2025. We'll see him rehabbing and working to try to get back to 2026. And even that's a question mark.
And that's the thing when you look at now with hindsight being 2020 and all, or what's the other phrase? Having the Monday's newspaper in hand or whatever it is.
Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the other one. So if you look back at the quotes, they are kind of telling because on Friday, Eric Neander was on WDAE, and he was saying, and this is an actual quote, there's just lingering symptoms, nothing awful, but we're not getting over the hump. No huge setbacks, but also no huge progress or breakthroughs. And we're not getting the progress that we, or certainly he, is hoping for. It's really unfortunate, but we've got to do what's best for him and take care of him and try to stay at it the best we can. I mean, that's just that should be alarms for fans. And I believe earlier this month or late last month, Kevin Cash was quoted on a Topkin article saying that Shane McClanahan is as good as anybody for one or two innings as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, so we're not even talking about a full 5-6 inning stretch now, even though that was the hope. It just now with the newspaper in hand, now we're like, oh, this was never a glowing report. Like you're saying, the best thing we got was, hey, he got on the mound for an inning, and that was great. That was it, man. Everything else, it's been meh quotes of like, well, we don't really know what's going on. And it makes sense because I don't really remember a nerve tricep issue for a pitcher really, you hear other stuff, but the nerve and then the bicep tendonitis too, that came out a couple of months ago too. So it's just something that has so many question marks that, yeah, it makes sense now where we are, which is he's not going to be pitching in 2025.
What's so crazy is that in another week and a half, it'll be exactly 2 years since he's thrown a meaningful ball for the Rays. It's crazy to think about that. And it makes you wonder a little bit if Shane McClanahan was in the fold from the get-go, because if I recall, he was looking good in spring training.
Yeah.
And then the wheels fell off. You wonder how the trajectory of this team could have changed if you had a full season from Shane McClanahan. Maybe not necessarily being division contenders, but at least being above 500 and fighting and clawing for a playoff spot. And maybe then and there, you see the team making some additions and acquisitions instead of whatever we saw at the trade deadline a couple of weeks ago.
Do you think? Yeah. I mean, because he won't pitch in 2025. That's exactly where your head's going to go. Like, what could have been, right? I mean, if he would have been, I think the majority of people would have said that he probably, if he was healthy, Littell would have been dealt, and Littell was one of your best pitchers. So, in the difference maker of like wins and losses, maybe not that many, because Littell did pretty good for the Rays. So if he would have, maybe Tosh would have been sent down and then Shane takes his spot, then you would see, okay, that's a bigger difference in quality. And maybe it gives you 4 more wins and you'd be at a better place right now. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, I think we all want Shane to be on the mound, and we hope nothing but the absolute best in this new rehab that he's going to have. But it's just a letdown for everybody, including obviously him, that he won't pitch in 2025.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for him because he's a competitor and a gamer. He wants to be on the field. And the thing that we've talked about, which we might get into a little bit later, is, to me, I think we got the impression that he was holding out for that big fat contract in free agency, or a big fat contract extension, or biding his time with the Rays and then going out into free agency and getting, I don't know, a 9-figure deal a la Tyler Glasnow or somebody of that ilk. And now that's going to be paused or delayed. Not to say that he still can't make millions of dollars, because he can. I mean, we've seen many a starting pitcher that have been injured or unproductive, and some way, somehow, they find a way to get a decent amount of coin, even if it's just a 1-year deal or there's a 1 year with an option involved. I mean, look at your boy Alex Cobb, for example. I think the Tigers gave him $15 million this offseason, and he's pretty much been a ghost. So I still, and anything can happen with injuries and pitchers in general, but he is still relatively young, and I would think and hope and believe that we can at least see vintage Shane McClanahan. But I would have to think that his earnings potential has taken a dip, taken a dive due to 2 straight years of not playing baseball.
And the worst thing I think that fans are not going to like to hear is the fact that this surgery that he just had, it's not guaranteed to fix the problem.
If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope. You went on and called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so, so important. And that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Your whole team, in fact, can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. So no more, who's handling this call? Open Phone is offering Locked On Rays listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, well, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Well, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. You can go ahead and crown your champion in August. I might be putting a little betteroo on the Bucks or the Colts. Totally homerism there, but you can choose whoever you think will win the Super Bowl legitimately. So go ahead, visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
Thank you for listening to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Like I just said, that procedure is just a one step, not the full fix with the surgery. It's called a radial nerve decompression. Funny how we have to be wannabe doctors and wannabe lawyers on Locked On Rays, but
yeah, everybody at that point, when they hear that, it's probably the first time they've ever heard something like that if they don't work in the medical field. So the first thing is to Google it, to ChatGPT it, to go to WebMD and see what is this radial nerve decompression and how is that going to impact our ace or previous ace. I mean, I don't even know if we can call. I mean, you haven't pitched in 2 years, so are you still the ace? I mean, somebody's got to take the mantle at some point if he's not opening up in 2026.
And well, I guess we'll have to get into that in the third segment. But yeah, so it's a step. This radial nerve decompression is just a step towards trying to solve the problem, but it's not necessarily a solution. In fact, we have here from the Topkin article that was written yesterday. The procedure performed by specialist Dr. Stephen Shin in Los Angeles is designed to go in there and clean up around the nerve, Kevin Cash said. Hopefully there's some relief to the nerve area. It's not anything that involves a bone or structure. It's more a slice, and go in there, and he should be pretty mobile pretty quick. The doctor is not sitting there saying like he's fixed after this. That's not the case. This is one step, and we'll see how this goes. And hopefully we get good results. And if we don't, then let the doctor decide what else is needed, if anything. That is not the best of news, Kev, because now that just makes you think, if doctors, this is a team of doctors that are looking at this, right?
And not only doctors, these are like the elite of the elite doctors. These aren't, your urgent care physicians, if you will. These are contracted specialists that are tops in the field, seemingly. And if they're like, well, we're not really sure. We
don't really know if this is gonna. Well, we'll just see. We're just gonna cut you right open, and we're just gonna clean things up, and then see if that works. Does that sound like a good deal?
Right.
Well, like that's
it's like I can't remember if it's Friends or Seinfeld or maybe both, where somebody's on the operating table and one doctor comes in. Oh, I've never seen that before. And then invites a bunch of other doctors and nurses to come in, and they're all oohing and awing and like, oh my gosh, what is this? Not saying that's necessarily the case with Shane McClanahan, but it is a unique situation that he's dealing with.
And so unique that not only have we never heard it in the baseball in the baseball world, but these guys, these doctors that have studied for decades don't really know how to fix this issue. It's so unfortunate for a guy this talented to be going through this stuff because, like you said earlier, he just wants to play. He just wants to compete, man. And ultimately, get that fat paycheck that he deserves because of his talent. And all of that is getting halted. And you would think, I think in his head is like, okay, well, can get in there and clean me right up and I'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the case. The good thing is that they are saying that he will be mobile pretty quick. That's great news. But it might not fix the issue. So then where do you go from there? And then how long can you go with this touch and go situation of, well, let's try this and let's try this? I mean, if this procedure is just a one step and not just the fix, are we really, can you really count on him for 2026?
That's a good question. That's the million or multi-million dollar question. I would almost say at this point, like 50-50. Like, who knows at this point? I will say this. This is something that I feel like I'm pretty confident in. If we do see Shane McClanahan, it will not be the same version that we've seen in 2021, 2022, or 2023. It'll be a pared down version of Shane McClanahan. I think they would tread very lightly with him, of not immediately being a starter, thrown into fire. Hey, give us 6 2/3, give us 7. It'll be slowly and methodically working his way up. So I'm hoping, I'm begging that he can be in a Rays uniform in 2026. Not to say it'll be at the start of the year, but I would think that at some point he can come back and contribute. And for him, it's just got to be extremely frustrating because, like we said, he wants to be out there and he's spending all this time rehabbing, not enjoying the camaraderie and the competitiveness of his teammates. I mean, rehab is a lonely, lonely process. We've heard from many players who've mentioned that and discussed that. And, but then again, you also wonder if he's thinking like, can I throw all my pitches? Can I throw as hard as I want to without, like, I wonder if that there's a mental thought of, can I really go full board here? Or do I need to, give you 80-85% of myself? And how does that impact him going forward? It's almost like, bad analogy, but you fall off on a bike, you might have some hesitancy to ride that bike again if you're a little kid.
Yeah. No, 100%. And we hear that with guys coming from Tommy John all the time. Like the one of the biggest things that they have to get over is that mental hurdle of throwing like I did before without the fear of getting hurt, of I can just like go ahead and chuck it. It's going to be very difficult. And I think that's the biggest issue here, is that this is touch and go, man. Like, this is not okay, he had the surgery, now we can look forward to him feeling better. No, because it's not a full fix. Hopefully it can be a step in the right direction, but that's basically where we're getting here from Cash and Company with these news. And it's really unfortunate, man, because he's incredibly talented, and you would just want to hear after this surgery he's going to be fine, and yet that's not what we've heard.
Yeah, that's the thing, is, have we heard a timeline? We haven't been given a timeline. Usually after a surgery or procedure, you get a timeline. Oh, it's going to be 6 months. It's going to be 10 months. It's going to be 12 months. Give me something. Give me something to work with and play with. And I mean, even then, I think we got some timelines with his previous ailments, and there was setback after setback. So even that's no guarantee. But this is all up in the air at this point.
And that's why, and this is not an indictment on Kevin Cash or Eric Neander or anything like that. This is more an indictment on sports quotes by executives and coaching staffs
who don't know about medical conditions.
In 2023, there were quotes from Cash written by Topkin saying that I'm not really overly concerned about this issue. This was in August of 2023. If you guys are on YouTube, you can see 741 days and counting. That was the last time that Shane McClanahan was on the bump. I really dislike quotes about injuries, because then we can always point out to things like, oh, you weren't overly concerned. And that's why I think it's so much better. And maybe this is a utopia, but it's so much better to just say either we don't know anything right now.
Yeah.
Don't say not overly concerned. Don't try to like appease the fan base or like try to chill us down and calm us down like we're just like crazy preschool kids of like, oh my, like just say it. Be an adult and say I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I will get you guys the information when I get the doctor. Don't say not overly concerned. Come on.
Maybe he's saying not overly concerned because, hey, I've still got Shane Boz and Drew Rasmussen.
Well, in 2023, we all thought that it was the year. So I guess in Kevin Ketch's world, that he was not overly concerned. But I just think that those quotes just, unfortunately, they just look bad after 2 years where, this guy hasn't touched a baseball and has not pitched in 2 seasons, Kev.
Well, with this procedure outlook, there's still uncertainty about when or if he'll be back to his old self.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Day Hue, and that is the hat Kevin and I are both wearing. The Rays Game Day Hue hats, and you can get one as well. And they're great because they make clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. Now, you can see that Kevin and I picked a couple of different models, and you can just pick yours as well. If you like the blue and yellow, go for that. If you want to go with the blue and white like Kevin did, do that as well. And they also got gloves if you are into the little game of golf like Kevin is. And right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue, HUE.com. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15.
Oh, Shane McClanahan, we need you. We miss you. If for 2025, 2026. That's what we were banking on was, 2025 lost cause at this juncture, most likely going to be a lost cause, the team not going anywhere. But 2026, that was part of the cherry on top, if you will, was like, hey, we'll have Shane McClanahan to join forces with Junior Caminero and Brandon Lowe and Yandy Diaz, hopefully. And, another year of experience for the young guys like Ryan Pepiot and Drew Rasmussen. But now all that is in the air as of right now. And it does have me wondering, what the Rays will do with him in arbitration. My guess is, I guess he would just take the same exact earnings that he's gotten the past 2 years where he's been on the shelf and collecting millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like 3.6 each of the last 2 years. So I would think if, his expectations, at least financial ones, would be you can't get a raise. And if you do get a raise, it's going to be very, very minimal. So obviously, like nobody wants to take care of anybody else's wallets, but with Shane McClanahan, I don't see how in 2026, when you're going to be ARP3, you don't think, hey, maybe I do a little bit of an extension here because I don't know what's going to happen. And he's going to be a free agent in 2028. So, yeah, maybe an extension gets worked out, and that's what can be expected on the financial side of things. But on the field things, I think you mentioned earlier, transition him. Obviously, the Rays want him to be a starter.
Right.
Shane McClanahan wants to be a starter. This is a guy that, got 6th place in the Cy Young Award in 2022. 2-time All-Star. He's been a starter in the All-Star game. Like, he wants to be a starter. He feels like he's a starter. The Rays want him and need him to be a starter. You mentioned earlier, the Rays ace. Can you be a Rays ace after 2 years of not pitching? Yeah, when you're that good, that's the only way to do it. But yeah, it's really, I understand that feeling of wanting to be a starter and the Rays needing him to be a starter. But at this point, when you're not pitching for 2 full seasons, I mean, how many guys have come back after 2 full seasons of not touching a baseball and then being back to their old selves? You think of Jacob deGrom, maybe, ex-Ray legend Corey Kluber had a lot of issues like that. But then you also think of the really bad cases of it. You think Steven Strasburg, Matt Harvey, Chris Carpenter, names like that where, these injuries just derailed their livelihood. And it wasn't even what Shane is going through. It doesn't look good for the expectations as Rays fans to have that Shane McClanahan in 2026 will be the same opening day a starter for the Rays.
Yeah, we really should take out, hey, he's going to throw 165 innings for us. I think that's a lost cause at this point. We should be focusing on him as a bullpen arm or maybe a bulk guy. Again, ease his way into it. What we've learned is, throwing a baseball 100 miles per hour over and over again is not a natural movement or natural progression. And throwing a crazy breaking ball isn't either. And
if you had the power, if let's say you were either a doctor or you were Shane McClanahan, like you had the power to change this, Kevin, would you just say, let's pull a John Smoltz here and just completely, hey, this is, if we want you to be healthy, just you're not a starter anymore. You're just going to be a bullpen arm and you're going to be so effective and you're going to be the greatest closer for the next 5 to 10 years. Like, is that maybe something that you would do if you had the power?
I would take it. We need bullpen help, do we not? We need relief help. We need a succession plan from Pete Fairbanks and all the other guys that we've shuffled in and shuffled out. And that's the other thing. That's the other point in contention here is the Rays theoretically were planning on having Shane McClanahan in 2026 as a starter. So this might impact their maneuverings in free agency or on the trade front after the season. Because I would think that they're going to have to find an arm or two that can provide and serve as depth. Through trades, they've already lost a couple guys. Adrian Hauser probably not sticking around. So they're going to have to, I think, make some sort of wave, maybe like they did a couple years ago, where just like sign 3 or 4 guys to, $7-8 million and see who can cut it and hack it, or maybe go out and try to find the next Charlie Morton on, a discount deal and do work for you. But they need to have a backup or another plan. They need to be prepared for the idea that Shane McClanahan will not be the Rays ace in 2025.
If that's the expectation of, hey, we're not counting on Shane for 2026, then the rotation should look like Rasmussen, Pepiot, Shane Boss, Joe Boyle, and then that 5th rotation could be a new name.
Yeah.
Could be an Ian Seymour, right? Who's I think shined for most of his outings. But another name in-house that I think was kind of perked my ears up. I was watching Trevor May, and he was talking about how Griffin Jacks, and he just mentioned this like off the cuff. He was like, "Oh, Griffin Jacks, maybe the Rays can make him a starter." Well, that's interesting. Griffin Jacks is a starter. So there are options. We've seen the Rays do this time and time again. Sean Armstrong was a little experiment they had. Drew Rasmussen, obviously the best experiment that they've had, turning a bullpen guy into a rotation arm. Zach Littell, obviously the latest one. Jeffrey Springs, exactly. So this has been something that they've been doing. So that could be an option. But you're right. Like if the expectation is no Shane McClanahan in the rotation, the Rays are going to kind of maneuver, because first of all, we have to understand that a Shane McClanahan level of talent is not replaceable. You can't just pick that guy off the market. And if you can, then you better be the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox with that type of payroll. And the Rays just are not that team.
I do like the idea on converting an existing reliever into a starter. Again, it's something that the Rays have done previously, but it also seems to be a ongoing theme across baseball where, not just with the Rays, but other teams are converting relievers to starters and having various levels of success. So something has to be figured out on that front. What I do know is that you can't just enter the season with 5 guys. You might need to have 7 or 8 that you can pull upon and rely upon if 1 or 2 or more go down. So there it is. A little bit of a sad episode with the news on Shane McClanahan, but hey.
Well, you know what? If people need a picker upper here, the last 30 seconds of good stuff. Brandon Lowe went deep. The Rays won in Sacramento. Junior Caminero went back to back after Brandon Lowe, and that was pretty sweet. Pepiot had a really strong start. One pitch in the 7th got him a 3-run bomb. That kind of sucked, but overall, it was a good game for the Rays. Fairbanks got the last out. Good stuff for the Rays in Sacramento. Hopefully they can keep it going in the rest of this West Coast trip.
Keep it going. We need to go 13-3. 13 and 13, right? 30 and
13. So at least we got one of those 30 wins. Let's 29 more, people. 29 more.
30-3 makes me think of the Golden State Warriors in their heyday, but or the Oklahoma City Thunder this past year. But yeah, you need to go on a crazy run, and that's maybe this is the start of it against the Athletics in Sacramento. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, thank you for making Locked On Rays your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night, all season long. Local analysis brought to you on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to those podcasts.